I just fit my entire gaming PC into something the size of a toaster, and I think it somehow runs cooler than before. This is the ITX build I've wanted for a decade. If you're new here, hey, I'm Coulter, and on this channel we cover weird tech projects, handheld gaming, and PC builds that sometimes make sense and sometimes don't. So if you're into that, be sure to hit subscribe down below so you don't miss the future projects I have in the works that are a bit on the interesting side. But today I'm shrinking my AM4 gaming PC into a mini ITX beast. Not because I necessarily need to, but because I've always wanted that clean console-like aesthetic on my desktop. And honestly, with things like the 6-inch cubed Steam machine coming out, it's hard not to feel like you're missing out when you look at that cute little thing and you've got a MATX or ATX case glaring at you on your desk. As probably like 2 of you will remember, late last year I built my first new-ish gaming PC on the AM4 platform, largely built using a ton of killer deals I got at the time because suppliers were clearing out their AM4 stock to make room for AM5 and all the rest. And as far as performance, I've had no complaints with that build. I really love it. The 5600X is plenty for me, and the only thing I've changed since then is the 6700 XT for a 3060 Ti, primarily because I realized that the codecs in the AMD card were not as good as the codecs in the NVIDIA card for moonlight streaming to the TVs around my house. Go figure. So there's really no problem with it. It just feels massive on my desk, especially because I know that it would be so much smaller in a little cute ITX case. I've wanted a cute little ITX build for probably like 10 years, but never really been willing to pony up for the ITX tax. But after returning my ROG Xbox Ally X, wow, I thought I said that name wrong, but I said it right, it's just a mouthful of a name. And check out that video if you missed it. I suddenly had a fun little pile of tech money that I did not expect to have at this time of year, and I was trying to figure out what to spend it on. Couldn't really think of anything that I really wanted or needed, and then I decided to justify the ITX switchover. Same power I've enjoyed with the original build, but let's just get it into a smaller footprint. But how do we do that? Well, as you may be aware, there are a few ingredients that need to be added in and swapped around to be able to take a build like that and move it into an ITX case. The first actually showed up on Facebook Marketplace for me, which is in the form of an SFX power supply at a super good deal. Buddy on Marketplace had bought it, planning to migrate his build to ITX, never followed through, and he bought a really nice Cooler Master V850 Gold about a year ago, sat on it, never used it, and was selling it for like half price or something. So I jumped right on that, met him, super nice dude, and spoiler alert, the power supply does work, so that worked out because that was a bit of a dice roll. So that was one of the many times that randomly doom scrolling Marketplace turned out to save me a nice chunk of change. So thank you, Facebook Marketplace. That's pretty much the one reason I keep Facebook now. The next ingredient was the motherboard, and surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, there is not a massive inventory of AM4 ITX motherboards floating around on budget deals that much anymore. But thankfully, I was able to find an ASRock B550M ITX/AC for a pretty decent price. Honestly, like it was just the cheapest one I found on newegg.ca, and it had everything I was looking for in that it had an AM4 slot and was ITX. And it had a couple of other requirements I had too, like an M.2 slot and a not hard requirement, but preference in that it had Wi-Fi built in. It's just so convenient, especially given that I'll have no PCI slots to add in a Wi-Fi card later. And thankfully everyone in like reviews said that yes, it comes pre-flashed for 5000 series CPUs, so I wouldn't have to do any BIOS flashing out of the box to get it to boot my 5600X. So that's a nice little convenience boost as well. But given that the whole reason for purchasing these items was to get my MATX build into an ITX build, what ITX case do I actually want? Like this whole process is just aesthetics, so the case is the aesthetics. So which case is the aesthetic? And not gonna lie, ever since I laid eyes on the Fractal Terra 2 years ago when everyone was talking about it, I've kind of still always wanted one. And that was a pretty easy decision as far as what case I wanted, but finding a Fractal Terra in late 2025 was friggin' hard actually. Maybe it's different where you live, but where I live, at least on my online marketplaces and my local marketplaces, secondhand is like not a thing at all. If you bought a Fractal Terra, people are loving a Fractal Terra, but retailers don't appear to be stocking them because I'm not sure Fractal is making more of them. But one day, as if a direct blessing from God, I was looking around, checking Canada Computer as like, maybe I'll try Canada Computer because Newegg doesn't have it and this and this. And then I saw that Canada Computer had 2 listings for the Fractal Terra. It had one of like, we've got one in store, and it was in like New Brunswick. And I'm like, nah dog, I'm not flying to New Brunswick for this case. Then they had a duplicate listing later down of an open box Fractal Terra in graphite, the color that I wanted, as sexy as the green looks, and it was actually in a store across town. Not the one in my town, but a drivable tone. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna freaking snag this case. And maybe I was lying to myself to justify the purchase, but I feel like this is a case that you can buy and then just kind of keep using for a long time, as long as the aesthetic is still pleasing to you. Just keep upgrading the guts. So I called ahead, confirmed it was there, stomached the extra cost of gas and the still $250 it costs for an open box Fractal Terra in Canada. But once I got it home, unboxing did not disappoint. This case is beautiful. You can tell it was made with love. I'm sure you've seen plenty of rave reviews about this case already, but unboxing it, just the little card that tells you like how it was made and shows the sketch and why they made it and all the effort they put into making it, the packaging, the cloth it comes wrapped in, like, it's just a very, very pleasant case unboxing experience, which I did not expect. More on the build process in a second, because this case had some lovely little surprises in store. But now that I've got the SFX power supply, the ITX motherboard, and the ITX case, will all my components physically fit in here? So it was time to paper test all the components to see, will these dimensions actually fit in this narrow of a case? And yeah, I'm glad I did that virtual test fit, because I found out that my stock AMD cooler, you know, the one that I throw in the box with the whatever Ryzen 5 chip you bought, was likely going to be too tall and would bump us way to the wall here and would really restrict and kind of mess with the space we have to work with inside the case. But thankfully, it didn't take too much research to realize that Thermalright has a 36mm cooler on Amazon for just 27 Canadian dollars. So yeah, I ordered that instantly because that sounds like a delightfully cheap solution to my problem. And with that, everything was supposed to fit inside the case. So now for my very first ITX build. And honestly, it was a bit of a journey. But back to the Fractal Terra, the build process was incredibly delightful, especially the included manual that it comes with, which honestly was more useful than some IKEA manuals I've used. It had pretty pictures and it had flow diagrams, and it said if you have this height of GPU, you're gonna wanna set the movable inner spine to a setting like this. If you're gonna put a fan here, then this is how you do it. If you wanna put a second SSD here, this is how you do that. Like, it had just kind of if this then that and just pretty flow diagrams, recommended cable routing in the appendix in the back. Like, I was very, very impressed by the build manual alone, let alone the overall experience. So big shout out to Fractal, not a sponsor of this video, just love what you did with this case. So in pretty short order, obviously I assembled the motherboard ahead of time with the CPU, cooler, and RAM, as well as the M.2 drive, all pulled over from the previous build, aside from the new cooler. Got the motherboard and I/O shield installed inside the case. Hilariously, I had to install my 2.5-inch game storage SSD with Velcro at the front of the case, which I kind of love because, yeah, it's the most clean and low profile solution for how do we let people mount their SSDs in here without taking up more internal storage. And so, yeah, it just comes preloaded with a couple of Velcro straps at the front, and you just stick your SSD in there, notch it down, and it's mounted. Love it. And then at the front bottom of the Fractal case, there is an optional area there where you can either put another 2.5-inch SSD or a 120mm fan. And given that there's no other fans in this case, I thought I'd take the opportunity to put at least one fan in this thing, aside from the fans on the GPU itself and the CPU cooler. And I was skeptical, but thankfully my 120mm fan I already had slipped in there just so, which was nice because I was worried I'd have to buy some kind of really slim 120mm fan, but the one I had on hand worked, so thanks, I think Deep Cool made that one. But more on that fan in a second. And I got the PSU installed on its bracket and notched in there, got the GPU onto its riser cable mount, got that on there, got the riser cable plugged in. I was banging along in the instructions, and then I realized that one shortcoming of the manual is it doesn't tell you when to start plugging and routing cables along the way. It kind of assumes you'll know to do that, which dum-dum me was too excited to slow down and think about that. And so I was like, oh yeah, there's no PSU cables routed anywhere, or the SATA cable, and the only cables that actually plugged in were the power button cable, and that was it. So, little rewind, unplug the ribbon adapter, unseat the GPU, remove the PSU bracket, and now let's plug in all of our PSU cables we'll need. And even though I've never built in an ITX case before, I knew that ITX cable management would probably be one of the trickiest and most gruesome parts of the build, but thankfully I was able to save a fair bit of hassle using that aforementioned appendix they have, talking about recommended cable management practices. But even following those cable management practices and using an excessive amount of zip ties, which I think they include in the box thankfully, the PSU cables were still pushing pretty hard into the 120mm fan, and I was thinking it was near impossible to route it to where the blades wouldn't be getting all seized up by the cables, which obviously defeats the purpose of having a case fan there. So I did what all great troubleshooters do. Watch 30 seconds of a seemingly relevant YouTube video and claim the solution as your own. I would actually love to give credit to that YouTube video, but I can't remember what it was. But if I find that video in my YouTube watch history, I'll link it in the description, because thank you, good sir, for the suggestion. But what he recommended doing was buying a $7 metal fan grill off of Amazon, which then screws into the top of the 120mm fan and prevents cables from going into it. I was like, oh, duh, yeah, like how other fans work out in the real world. However, I, in that moment, felt too cheap to spend $7 on Amazon for a metal fan grill and too impatient to wait the 1 day of Prime shipping it would have taken for it to arrive on my doorstep, mostly because I'd fanned out this entire build process on our whole kitchen island and our kitchen table, so I was feeling a bit of pressure to wrap it up that day. But thankfully, I have a Bamboo A1 3D printer that I need to justify purchasing, and so thankfully on MakerWorld there were plenty of 120mm fan grill options, and I found one that seemed to not restrict the airflow too much, sent it to the printer, and within half an hour it was already done and ready to go. Oddly enough, that print seemed to stretch a little bit as I screwed it into the fan, but once it got torqued around in all the corners, then it was nice and flush fitting and firmly in there, and did its job perfectly well. To this day, keeps those cables from going into that fan, so thank you, kind sir, who created and uploaded that to MakerWorld. I will link your build in the description as well. It was also really good that I ran into that fan issue, because I also realized that I installed the fan backwards, because I had intended to install it so that it pulls hot air out of the machine, but instead it was poised to pull whatever under machine air into the machine, which wouldn't really be helpful. So good old two birds with one stone. But now for that final 10% of the build that feels like it takes forever, because it kind of does, which is the nitty-gritty cable management. Thankfully, this case still has a few little nooks and crannies you can leverage, like you can go around the front of the motherboard to route your PSU power cable. I didn't have shortened motherboard cables like some people use in this case, but I was able to zip tie it pretty tight, wedge it between the PSU and the RAM, and then zip tie it down to the spine, which did flex my RAM just slightly, but not enough to affect anything, so I'm gonna call it a win. Although one thing I'd caution is not using the lip in front of the motherboard at the bottom too much for tucking cables in, because if you stuff too many cables down there, you end up pushing the spine back a bit, because I was all surprised in the end when I found out, my spine's like crooked. What happened here? And yeah, I didn't really want to torque down the spine too much, but by shoving all those cables in there, the spine was forced to just get pushed back. So I landed on a spine setting of about 4, and then I found the happy medium of tucking those motherboard front cables on the side, but also tucking them in that little nook that I can now use because of the fan grate. And after a few passes, I think the inside of this is looking pretty darn good, at least for a first-time ITX cable manager who didn't spring for custom cables that are the exact right lengths for this thing. One key downside I discovered with this motherboard is it doesn't have the USB-C 3.2 header that the front of this case is expecting. And so now I have a USB-C port on the front of the case that does nothing, and obviously no way to install an expansion card to add that port. So I guess I'll get to use that port when I eventually upgrade to AM5, AM6, who knows? I'm not usually the most cutting edge with my own systems because I like to get the things that are battle tested and on sale. So I'll probably get AM5 when the world gets AM6, but we'll see how that goes. But guys, the final result size difference between my original Deepcool case and this Fractal Terra is crazy. The Deepcool CH370 is 20% longer than this case, 40.5% wider, and just shy of 100% taller than the Fractal Terra. And so suddenly my desktop is feeling like it has a cute little aesthetically pleasing PC console thing on it, and not a computer tower. Albeit that original computer tower was still only an MATX build, so it's saying a lot that this thing shrunk so freaking much. And so mission definitely accomplished there. And thankfully, and very importantly, the thermals tested all good to go. In game, the GPU runs at about 49 degrees Celsius and the CPU at about 70 degrees Celsius. So perfectly happy with those temps, especially given the size of this case. My memory is a bit foggy on what the temps were in the old case. I feel like they were about the same as this, possibly worse, but hard to say given I've changed the hardware config around a little bit. But what fun is it having a console looking PC if we can't use it like a console? From the couch, downstairs, in our multiplayer friendly home theater setup. And that's where these Ore USB 3.2 extender KVM adapters come in, provided by Ore, who's sponsoring today's video. The setup is actually super sick. The new ITX motherboard comes with a USB-C port on the back, and so I just plug in USB-C to C on the transmitter at the top here, plug that transmitter into the wall, and then plug it into Ethernet, which at the far end down by the home theater TV, I've got the other end of that Ethernet cable, just plug in the receiver. It receives the power from the transmitter, so I don't even need to plug that one into the wall, which is sweet. Plug HDMI to HDMI, optionally plugging in a second HDMI monitor, super nice. And to skip the hassle of a Bluetooth controller trying to reach all the way back to my desk on the main floor, I can just plug in either a Bluetooth adapter or a USB controller adapter into the USB port on the receiver, and then my controller data will all be sent right back up the Ethernet wire to the host PC up here. Super clean, super cool, and latency is like nil. It feels like I'm just console gaming, like I should be, even though the setup is completely invisible and not even on that floor of the house, which is mind-blowing. And what's also cool is these Ori adapters are a KVM, and so I can plug the other USB-C into something like my MacBook. So if I want to, say, share something for work or whatever down there, I just hit the switch and it'll flip over to my MacBook, send my MacBook visual data down to the TV, and then whatever USB peripherals or whatever I have plugged into the transmitter will also be sent back up to the MacBook. So maybe that's a keyboard and mouse, or maybe I'll try something like a webcam even, who knows? Actually, yeah, that could be a super sick hack given that Facebook is killing off the Portal TV. Might be worth a test of that. Let me know if you want to see that in the comments. So with these adapters, not only does my PC now feel like a console, but I can use it like a console down at my actual home theater TV setup. So thank you again, Ori, for sending these over. These are super cool, and check out the link in the description if you want to find out more about those. Now, you're probably wondering, Coulter, how much did you spend to change just the aesthetics of your PC? Not even upgrading the internals, aside from the lateral moves of the PSU, CPU cooler, and motherboard. It's actually not as bad as you think. I had a little accidental recoup strategy because once I finished the build, I was like, oh, I've got this case, power supply, and AM4 motherboard not doing anything, and I have no build plan for them, so it's probably a waste of money just to let it sit there in the basement for however long. So I listed on Marketplace as a bundle where you can either choose to make an offer on individual pieces or bundle the whole thing. And one buddy was building a PC for his sister, wanted to buy all the parts at once, and so I recouped 200 Canadian dollars for all that, which was pretty good actually. I think it's only maybe like a $100 loss from the original parts I bought this time last year. And so my net cost of going from MATX to ITX, and not just any ITX, but a Fractal Terra ITX build, drumroll please, 350 Canadian dollars. Or 250 US dollars, which, wow, that difference makes me sad for the conversion rate right now. Was it the most economical option? Absolutely not. Was it an extremely fun way to spend some bonus fun money and fulfill a decade-long dream? Yes, yes it was. But I'm curious to hear from you. Do you think I should have just stuck with the absolute cheapest components and gone function over form, just focus on performance? If so, drop a money bag emoji in the comments to cast your vote. But if you think this was an appropriate use of time and money, go ahead and drop that little Space Invaders emoji in the comments so I can get some validation for all this. And if you don't care about voting, but just want to let me know you watched to the end, drop a seasonally appropriate Santa emoji in the comments so I can know that you're ho 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 enjoying this. Wow, we're not, nope. Or if you don't care about voting, but you want to let me know you watched to the end and appreciate this kind of content, go ahead and drop a Santa emoji in the comments just for the heck of it. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like this video, you'll probably like when I designed and 3D printed an entire Xbox Series X eGPU shell for the ROG Xbox Ally X. It was quite a process, but had some really cool results.